Oh hey, it's Wes, and I'm here today to brighten up your life a little. It's time to talk about the GVM SD300D. Let's hit it! I have been using the GVM SD300D in a lot of commercial applications for quite some time now. I gotta say, I've been enjoying it, but my journey with this light has not been easy. If you follow this channel, and I know a lot of people did not see this video, when this GVM arrived, fan did not work and it overheated after just a few minutes. So I had to take it apart, troubleshoot, and I replaced the fan with some level of complication and expertise with a high-quality Noctua fan, pretty much the quietest fan that you can fit in this form factor, to get this thing up and running again, peak performance. Since then, this has been used for hours and hours and hours of footage. At times, this thing has run for 6 hours continuously at 100% output. It has been a workhorse. Let's talk about it, starting with the build quality. Obviously, this is a point of some contention, because it arrived with a dead fan. Now, it's not like the Godox Lightmons 150 that arrived working fine and then eventually the switch crapped out. This thing, the fan was DOA, and so we can potentially point our finger at maybe having poor QA with this. I don't know, maybe the fan died in transit, but it seems like a less likely scenario. And if we look on the back here, we have a very generic switch, probably the exact same one that's on the Godox Lightmons. It's a nice little knob, doesn't have very good feedback. We have a proprietary, apparently weather-resistant power connector here. Problem with that is we can't really extend the DC distance from the power brick here. Our power brick is putting out 32 volts, so we could potentially have used an XLR connection, but we did not. And the power brick itself, speaking of build quality, it's kind of light, kind of squishy, and it actually has a built-in fan. Very quiet right now. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. It does, however, come with a nice, robust AC power cable that plugs into that. So overall, it's a bit of a mixed bag when it comes to build quality. Some parts are very plasticky. Then we have some metal on the top vent, metal on the mount to sink that heat out. So I'm going to give that a 6.5 out of 10. Feature set. This has most of the features that you're going to be looking for. We've got a handle, we've got Bluetooth connectivity, we have white balance from 2700 all the way up to 7500K, which is higher than a lot of these will go. We don't have the ability to plug into an external battery without some tomfoolery going on around here. And with something that goes up as high in power as this, an external battery is not all that useful. You'll usually want to be using something with a lower power output than this. This claims 300 watts of power output, but it won't get you that far. It doesn't actually get much higher than 250. I'll show you the power output scale here, because depending on your white balance, your scale and your mileage will vary. So we do have a pretty smooth power output curve. Not even on the white balance, but that is incredibly common. Actually, one might say the norm. We have on the front a Bowens mount. Honestly, for me, one of the most important factors in the feature set and the usability. There are scenes and effects and stuff like that, so if you're into that sort of thing, you can control it with the app or you can control it on the back screen here. So overall for feature set, it's got most of what you're looking for. It's an 8.5 out of 10. Light quality, this is actually pretty high. This has a, one might say, a next generation COB LED on this. We've got a CRI of above 97, which is very solid. That's going to vary a bit depending on where you are on that white balance curve. Further to the bottom versus further to the top will get you further away from that 97 CRI. And you got a Bowens mount, so you can make that light look however you want, which is very important. So overall, this light quality, it's a 9 out of 10. Solid. Usability. Number one, being able to go up to almost 300 watts of LED power is fantastically useful, especially if it doesn't overheat right away when you have a nice new fan in it. The Bowens mount, once again, is very key. However, I found that not everything will mount on this. if I put this protector on, it's just a little tight. Really got to jam it in there. Now it's stuck. Oh dear. Good. Okay. It's a little tight inside that Bowens mount. And the funny thing is, when they originally designed this, it was a little loose inside the Bowens mount. Because I had to disassemble this entire unit, I could see that inside they made a last-minute change and added a tightening ring to the Bowens mount. And so now, it's funny, they probably went from a little too loose to just a little bit too tight. However, we have a nice detent spring on here. It's tighty-righty, lefty-loosey, unlike the new small rig light, which is lefty-right, tighty. Anyway, we have a very bright, easy-to-read screen on the back here. From the bottom, which is the most important viewing angle, it is fantastically viewable. From the top, it gets a little sketchy. From the sides, very viewable. They knew what they were doing here. We've just got one knob here that gets the whole job done, and honestly, that's all you need. Nothing confusing going on, easy switching. Thank you very much. The app is fine, easy enough to use, nothing confusing there either, no weird setup going on. The fan, interestingly enough, could be quieter. And also interestingly enough, when our power output is 0, the fan's running at 100%. When our power output is 100%, this will be the first time I get it all the way up to this in this video. When our power output is 100%, the fan is still running at the exact same speed. Check out that Tiffin black mist filter, oh boy. So no matter what your power output is, the fan is running at 100%, which is funny because there is a thermistor inside here. Again, I've disassembled the entire thing and rebuilt it. But that is only used for overheat protection, so when it hits a certain point, it will shut it down. It doesn't control the fan output. At 3 feet away, we're at 38 decibels. Not that loud, I've seen louder. But when you're running this at 100% output for a long, long time, the power supply becomes the loudest element. This will get up close to 45 decibels. And because this cord is just the length that it is, it has to hang out, well, you attach it to the light stand. And so you can't get it very far away from you. So this becomes the problem point when you're using high power for long periods of time. But thankfully, it doesn't start out at that level. But when it gets super hot and has been on for a long time, that tiny little fan starts yelling at you. Now again, 45 decibels isn't crazy loud, but it is enough to start getting into the picture. Overall, when it comes to usability, this thing is fantastically easy to use. It's an 8 out of 10. Value, this is where we expect GVM to do well. It is Great Video Maker, and anything called Great Video Maker is probably not going to cost a lot. Let's see how it fits in. This is $590, and we'll see what we can compare it with that is A, bicolored, and B, over 200 watts of output. Now, the closest thing to compare this to would be the 200 watt version of this, which is $400, which is a pretty good deal. There's also the Godox Lightmons bicolored 200, which is $350. Uh-oh. And the small rig version of that, which is $360. These do have slightly less power than this, but not an enormous difference. But if we go out with the standard stuff that is 300 watt and bicolored, like the Godox M300 Bi, that's $1,000. The Aputure LS300X is also $1,000. So I feel like this was designed to compete with those two lights, but while it was hitting production and hitting the market, the new Lightmons and Small Rig RC series came out and kind of undercut them a little bit, which is surprising because GVM usually can tangle with that bottom price point, but because of that, we can only give this a 7 out of 10 for value. It's not the best for price. So overall, that gives us a 39 out of 50. It's a reasonably strong score, but not the best score. If you want to pick up one of these lights, There are links down in the description below to help support this channel and feed my sleeping cats. If you have any questions or comments about the GVM SD300D, let me know down in the comments below. But it's great that we are now in a world where we can have LED lights that are this small and compact with this much power. 300 watts or almost 300 watts of LED power is tremendous. That is an enormous amount of power. It's fantastic to be able to do this now. With an incandescent bulb, something like this would have been massive and would have been pumping out a ridiculous amount of heat. But not anymore. Now we can make it small and make it last. So until next time, let's go take some photos.